Hi everyone, welcome to Doctors and Coaches Corner podcast. Today's topic is setting achievable goals with Dr. Cindy Sandis.
Wow. I think sometimes about the goals I set and they aren't necessarily achievable, right? I make myself this list that's this long and I think I'm going to get it all done in 12 hours. And I've probably put on there enough for 24, 30 hours, right? But I don't think we have to live there. I don't think we have to help kids live there. I think it's important that for all of us to set achievable goals. It is, if you've set a reasonable agenda for yourself for the day, right? And things
Yeah.
go wrong, you still feel bad for not achieving it, right? But sometimes we don't show ourselves grace. We don't say, look, it's okay. Or let me go back and reprioritize and redo and set something that's achievable. Because when we are always, and I don't mean by not stretching, I'm good with stretching, but I'm not good with trying to climb Mount Everest in a day, right? And I think a lot of times we do that. So achievable might be this much further than would be comfortable and easy, but it
Okay.
but it needs to be achievable. It needs to be something that's in your wheelhouse. So and a lot of people get very confused between a goal and an objective. They consider objectives goals, and that's not the case. And so we'll talk about that as well. So they need to be achievable, but they need to be a goal. They don't just need to be chitty chat. It needs to be a goal, something that you're working toward. And I think that that's part of what makes goals so important, right? I have this goal and it may take me 4 years to accomplish it, but I have benchmarks along the way so that I know I'm making progress. And ultimately, I can get there. And I think that setting goals is has a lot to do with learning about delayed gratification. We live in a culture that you go through the drive-through, and if you're not out of there in 5 minutes, you're upset because it needs to be instant. I need it right now. I want this right now. I don't want to have to wait. I'm going to put that on my credit card, even though I can't afford to pay my credit card off. Right? I could go on and on. And instant gratification isn't a that's not about goal setting. That's about reacting and to something. When you set a goal, you have a plan to achieve it, and you are okay with it if it takes time. And you realize that the end is better than all the little sidebars and races and that you could do. So I think one of the most classic stories that we can find about goal setting is the story of the tortoise and the hare. And so the
Okay.
tortoise and the hare are going to go on a race, right? And the hare goes, whoosh, takes off and says, I don't need to worry. I'm way ahead of this game. I can win no problem. I'll just sit down and take a nap. And the tortoise goes step by step by step by step by step, right? And
Right.
ultimately wins the race. And when the tortoise race wakes up, it goes, yeah, right? But it's too late because you didn't set a goal that was achievable and work toward it until it was finished. You worked toward it till you were no longer comfortable. You wanted to take a nap, you wanted to take a rest, you wanted to take a break. And if you're going to do that when you set goals, you need to set a very strict time limit on how long you're going to take a hiatus.
Mm.
And maybe you build that into your goal planning. So after 6 months, I'm going to take 3 weeks off. Another 6 months, I'm going to take 3 more weeks off, right? That's fine. That's part of your goal plan. It's not taking a nap because you don't think you need to worry about it, which is what the hare did. So I think that this is a great topic for people to discuss and to think about and to really consider is how do you set achievable goals and then work toward them?
I agree with that.
Well, and look
Let's
at
move
your
on.
own life. Haven't you set goals for yourself and you keep working toward them,
Oh
right?
yeah, a lot of goals. Yeah, and achieved a lot of them. Still working on some.
That's right. And that's fine. You're a goal in progress.
There you go.
But you can say, but I did accomplish this one and this one and this one, which makes it easier to
Oh
stick to
yeah,
the next one. for
I
sure.
agree.
Yep.
Definitely.
All right.
So
So do we have some
first,
questions?
yes, we do. Our first question is, why is goal setting important for youth development?
So when you set a goal and you work toward that goal and you achieve that goal, you have built confidence. And I was listening to a commercial today and it said, you have to go out and you have to go out and win confidence. You can't just sit back and go, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be confident. Because if you're not doing anything about it, that's going to fall flat, right? And so we want kids to learn to be confident. And if you look at youth development principles, right, one of the first is to develop competency, that you're able to do things. You have built your skill set, your life skill set, your academic skill set, your ability to problem solve, right? You've built a skill set. And that's first, the competency. But the second thing that happens is confidence. Because if I become competent and I can trust in myself and I can respect myself and I can develop agency, then I can be confident that I can achieve my goals, even if they're stretch goals, even if they're stretching me a bit. So I think that it gives you this whole focus, right? I own me. You don't own me. I own me. And I can make good choices and I can make goals and I can achieve them. And when I need your help, I'm not going to be so brazen that I won't ask. I will humble myself and ask you for help when I need it, but I'm going to own my move forward. And I think that's really, really what youth development is all about. You're on mute. You're still on mute. I totally get that. I mute myself too, and then it's like la la la. And I'm always brilliant when I'm on mute. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah. I was just gonna add on, like it just builds direction and like motivation, and a sense of purpose.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I was thinking like an example, for students, like for a goal for them, they would like to improve like reading, some of the goals would be like finishing 10 books in a semester, that would just gain both like skills and confidence, like for them to like set goals in that way or getting
Absolutely.
their grades up. Like yeah, like that's one of the big things that we help a lot in expanded learning is help the kids with their grades, help the kids with their homework, and definitely they set goals and they achieve them towards the end of the year. They go
Yeah,
from F's to D, from F's to like all the way to an A, and they just build the confidence in them.
right. And once they're confident in themselves, they can get the A, right? It's
Oh
not
yeah.
that they can't get it. And yet, when you're failing, you're thinking that I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I can't do anything. And really, fail is the
Mhm.
first attempt in learning. And we have to teach kids that.
Oh,
It's okay.
100%.
You pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and let's move, right? Let's move towards
I
that
like that.
goal.
Yes. All right. So next question is, how can I teach youth to identify their strengths and aspirations?
So let's talk with strengths first. Um, you know, when you're a kid, unless you are incredibly talented in something, and everybody tells you how incredibly talented you are, you may not know what your strengths are, right? So if I am a great soccer player, which I am not, but if I were, and everybody wanted me always to be on their team. And people came, to when I was playing AYSO and they came to see if I'd play club soccer. And I scored goals and I got most valuable player and blah, 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 all those things. Obviously, that's easy to know that I'm good at soccer. But what about if I'm just the kid who goes every week, practices, does my very best, gives it 100%, and I never score a goal? How do I learn to be confident, right? How do I learn that I can set a goal and that my goal doesn't have to look like your goal? So I think when we're doing that, uh, strengths, you have to identify those differently, right? And you have to help kids uncover what they're good at. And one of the things I've seen done before, which is interesting, is called a forced choice questionnaire. And what happens is that you say, would you rather play volleyball or draw a picture? Okay. Then you would say, would you rather play volleyball or football? Well, that's a completely different, right? I could choose volleyball over drawing a picture, but I might not pick volleyball over football, right? So I can, would you rather draw a picture or paint a birdhouse, right? I will start to see through these forced choice questions and then help you see where were your interests? Where did they fall along this continuum? Well, I really liked everything that had to do with art and music. You know what? I really liked everything that had to do with sports and being outdoors. That's what I liked. So identifying strengths, you can do things to help them do that. But I think that when we do that, we also need to compliment them on their strengths and say, and even on things strengths they're growing. Wow, you did a great job on that when you distributed the papers to everybody and saw to it that everybody had what they needed. You did a great job of thinking about others, right? If that's what we're trying to build. So I think that that's important. But I think that a strength is different than an aspiration.
Mhm.
So a strength is something I'm good at. It's my talent level, right? It's my skill set and my ability to apply that skill set. But my aspiration is something that I want. And the other thing I would say is this, I think people get very confused between an aspiration and an espousal. So let me give you an example. Do you remember what, like 3 weeks ago when the lottery was at, I don't know, $1 billion, something like that? I mean, it was off the charts high, right?
Outrageous.
Right?
Mhm.
It was outrageous. And I said, oh, I'd love to win the lotto.
Yeah.
I did not buy a ticket. I never buy a ticket. So I'm just saying I'd be really nice if that money fell into my lap because I'm not doing one thing, including buying a ticket ever to make that happen. That's an espousal. I want to be the best soccer player in the world. I don't practice. I don't go, I don't try and be part of a team. I don't learn to dribble the ball. I don't, right? I don't do any of those things. Then I don't, that's not an aspiration. Because if I have an aspiration, I have to work toward it. I have to do something to get me there. That's why aspirations are tied to goals because you say, this is my goal, this is my aspiration, and I will do these 2,000 things to make that happen. And so just because people say, oh, I want blah, 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 doesn't mean that they're going to do anything about it. And if they're not going to do anything about it, then it's not a goal. It's just you going blah, blah, blah. So I think so I help you identify your strengths. This is what I like. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'd like to be good at, that kind of thing. And then there's the aspiration. Which one of these things are you going to go after so that we can set goals?
I like that. Definitely.
Yeah.
I like that, I would say like, have the youth like create like strength maps. So
Hmm.
listing their skills and what they're good at.
Yeah.
That's definitely cool.
And they're good at all kinds of things, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
and all of them are valuable. You don't have to go, well, I'm good at this, but that's no big deal. No, it is a big deal, right? It is a big deal that you're good at something. So
definitely.
we want them to develop that capacity to say, I am good at this. I can still improve. That doesn't mean I'm the top, right? But it means that that's a skill set. And I think when you talk about great athletes, right, which are easy to identify, they're always learning. They learn new things all the time, right? And maybe it's the teensiest, tiniest adjustment, but when they get it, then they're more likely to achieve their goals. And so if they who have tremendous amount of skills can learn something new, then shouldn't the rest of us be able to?
Yes.
I
Agree
think
with
it
that.
works that way.
Definitely. The next question is, what strategies help youth set realistic goals?
So realistic goals have to be achievable. So let's give an example. If you know that you want to play the trumpet and you're going to take lessons and you're going to practice and you're going to do all those things that you need to do, you will not be a Doc Severinsen on the trumpet in the first year. It's not happening. You have to put in lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of hours of practice, right? But you could set and achieve, and it's so maybe 20 years from now, I'm going to be the world's known as the world's greatest trumpet player. That's a long stretch. So you're going to set an achievable goal, right? That at the end of this year, I will be able to play this song, right? Without a mistake. So when we look at goals like that, one of the things that they talk about is called a SMART goal. And so
Mhm.
SMART is spelled SMART, right? So the goal is specific. I will be able to play this song on my trumpet, right? I'm specific. I'm not saying I'll be able to play the trumpet better. What the heck does that mean? I don't know what that means. But I do know that if I can play this song, that would be very specific. It needs to be measurable.
Mhm.
So now, right now, when I try and play that song, I make 37 mistakes. And I want to make 0 mistakes by the end of the year. All right. So that's measurable. I have my starting point, I have my ending point. So I was specific. This piece of music is specifically what I'm going to be able to play, and I'm going to be able to play it without a mistake or with only 3 mistakes, right? However you want to set that up. And so that makes it measurable. Then it's achievable. When you talk to others, when you talk to your trumpet teacher, will they tell you that that's achievable for you in a year if you practice and you study and you do your part? And if they tell you yes, yes, absolutely, you'll be able to do that, then you know that it's achievable. Because sometimes I think we don't know if it's going to be achievable or not, right? I think we get confused. Then it needs to be relevant. That's what the R stands for. So if you don't want to play that song perfectly, why in the world would you set it as a goal? You don't want to do it, it doesn't matter to you. So don't set that as your goal because you're not going to work toward that because it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. It's not important. So relevant means that it matters to you. Now, it may not matter to anybody else, but it matters to you. So we need to be specific. It needs to be measurable. We need it to be able to achieve it, and we need to get some input on that. And then it needs to be something we really, really, really want to do. And the T stands for time bound. So when I said I want to do this by the end of the year, I put a time frame on it. And when you do that, when you help kids do that, what specifically do you want? How will you measure it? Right? That's how you get there. You don't get there by just going, yeah, I want to win the lotto and doing nothing. So I think that that SMART goals can certainly help kids. Now, let's say that you think, nah, I don't want to set a SMART goal. Then just be sure that all those pieces are included. You don't have to call it a SMART goal. That's just to help you remember it, that there's an S word, an M word, an A word, an R word, and a T word. But what you're doing is helping them to reach their goals. And I think they have to have benchmarks. After the first quarter, I'll
Oh,
be able to do this much. After the second quarter, I'll be able to do this much. After the third quarter, I'll do this much. And then I'll reach my goal. And by all means, teach them to celebrate. We don't celebrate
oh,
near enough. and celebrate at whatever makes celebration to you, right? Eat an ice cream, swim in the pool, right? Call your best friend, do a puzzle on your phone, right? Do whatever that is, but celebrate in a reasonable amount of time so that it will reinvigorate you to keep excuse me, to keep learning. So I don't know, but
Oh
that's what
yeah,
I'd say about realistic goals.
definitely. I like that. Like how you said, instead of saying like I want to be better at something, just set like realistic goals, like like practice 20 minutes a day or so to get better. But setting the realistic goals is very important.
Yep. Otherwise, you'll become a person. There's no point in me setting a goal. I never achieve them at any rate.
Yeah.
I never make them. So why even bother? Right. And I think that that can be really detrimental to people.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I'll never
So
ever be able to.
the next question is, how can I teach youth to break large goals into smaller steps?
So bite-sized chunks, I think, are really important. And so I like to do that with backward planning. So here you are right now, and this is what you want to achieve. So what we're going to do is identify the five previous things you need to do to get there. And a lot of times people want to go from the end all the way back to the beginning and it doesn't work that way. So if what I want is to be able to play this musical piece on the trumpet with only two mistakes, that's my goal. What is it that I'm going to need to do right before that? Well, I'm going to need to hone in and practice the parts where I tend to make a mistake, right? Because there'll be a piece in there that does that. Okay, well, if I hone in on the part that makes a mistake, what do I do before that? Well, I learned to read the prompts in music, like double F means extra loud and double P means extra soft. I learned to read those prompts so that I know how others at least think I should do that. Okay, great. What should you learn before that, right? And you have to be specific and detailed. I had a group of folks who had to plan a birthday party. And they wanted to go from the end where you're eating cake and ice cream to everybody coming over. Well, that's fine, but there are lots of things that have to happen between everybody coming over and you actually
Too.
eating the cake. And then there had to be a ton of things that happened before the people actually came over, right? So that's what
Oh
we mean
yeah.
by benchmarking. Uh, go go out like, 6 to 10 weeks and say, where will I be in 6 to 10 weeks if I'm working toward this? Okay, where will I be after that? Where will I be after that? And you can forward plan like that, but sometimes it's helpful to backward plan because it helps you to stop skipping stuff, right? That really has to happen if you're going to be successful. So I think
Definitely.
bite-sized chunks, and then I guess the last thing I'd say is this: know how you'll be successful at each piece. So if my goal is to play this piece of music with zero mistakes, and right now I have 30, then my first goal will be to play this piece of music with 20 or less mistakes. Not perfect, right? And then if I get there, then I'll celebrate that. Then what will my next goal be? Well, 15 or less. 10 or less. Does that make sense? And so that would be my benchmark. I would be able to say, yay, you're going to be successful here because you've met the benchmarks. If you don't meet the benchmark, then you ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do so that I don't miss the next one? Right? What am I going
Oh
to have
yeah.
to change? What am I going to have to modify? How do I have to pivot so that I can be sure that I'm meeting my benchmarks along the way? So what is my criteria for success?
I like
So
that.
that's what I have.
Definitely. I was saying like also like use like a checklist. Yeah,
Yeah,
or a milestone chart.
right?
Oh.
And it feels good when you
Mhm.
check something off. Don't you love it when you get to mark out something on your list? Woo,
Oh yeah.
yay, zip,
Yeah.
all good, all good.
Definitely. We've been doing that a lot lately.
Yes,
We check stuff
marking the
out.
list.
Yeah. The next question is, what role does self-reflection play in goal setting?
Self-reflection is really important all the way around, and you can do it a variety of ways. So, one simple way is to, when you have a moment, and maybe if you can drive safely and think at the same time, then you can do it like if you're driving home from work. If you can't wait till you get to a safe spot, that's for sure. But ask yourself, okay, this is my goal. My goal is to play this piece of music with two or less mistakes. How did I do today? What did I do today? How did I do? What did I like about what I did today that I think is going to get me closer to my benchmark and to my final goal? And so you need to ask yourself, what did I do today that was helpful? What moved the needle for me? And then you want to do more of that the next day. Then you can ask yourself, well, what did I do today that I don't like, that didn't move me closer? It didn't help at all. Well, I didn't practice the full 30 minutes. I only practiced 15. Okay. So what either you have to stop doing that, only working 15 minutes a day, or you have to mitigate that and you have to say to yourself, okay, it's really hard to get in a full 30 minutes, but I think I could get in 20. Okay, great. The
Mhm.
next time when you reevaluate, maybe you'll get to 25 and then ultimately to 30. But I think that when you self reflect, you ask yourself, what did I do that worked really well and decide to do more of that? And what did I do that didn't go so well and either stop it altogether or fix it? And then you can be undecided. Yeah, maybe. Well, you need to push it one way or the other. Either push it to a like so that you can keep doing it, or push it to the no so you can get rid of it. Because there's no point in doing what's not working, right? And so self reflection
Mhm.
is when you do that and you say, how does this fit? Does this fit with who I am, with what I
Mhm.
value, with my purpose? Does it fit with me? And then you can move forward. But I think we need to self reflect probably a lot more than we do. I think that we live in a
Definitely.
world of noise. Hurry
You know,
up.
it's funny because I feel like we do that a lot for work. We self-reflect a lot on our what works and what haven't worked, and what can we try differently.
Mhm.
That's something that we stand by a lot in our work. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really important to not rush through, right? To
Hmm.
to persist until persist until the new thing is routine. Not just, oh, I did it once, so I'm good, right? You've got to persist through that until you go, yeah, this is how I roll. And we work
Right.
on that all the time. This is how we roll.
Yeah.
Not this way, but this way.
Yeah. Definitely. So next question is, how can I teach youth to prioritize their goals? Prioritize.
I think prioritization is not an easy thing, right? Because I know I make a list and I first what I do is I go through and I just jot down everything I can think of that I need to be looking at. And then I go back and I say, okay, which of this is the most important that I get done? So when you prioritize, you've got to decide how you're going to prioritize it. But one of the things I like to do is say, is there anything on this list that is for someone else? And if I don't do it, I'm going to hold them up, right? So if it's going to hold you up from doing something, I need to get on that right away, right? Or I need to say, hey, I can't do that. I will get to it. But I think that, so for me, prioritization number one is this some important for someone else? My second thing of prioritization is there a deadline? And that's really part of, is it for somebody else? But a deadline makes it a little more serious, right? I can do something for you because I want to, but a deadline, it's more serious. I've got to get that done. So if there's a deadline, I will do that. The third thing I look at as a prioritization is to ask myself, is there anything on this list that has been around for the last 27 iterations of the list, right? What's been on this list for a long time that I just haven't taken off? And so then I will go and I will put that next, right? And then I will move on to what would be nice to finish, right? What would I like to have finished so I could go, I'm finished with that. And then the challenge is this. Once you've prioritized your list, you don't get to start with number 5 because that's the thing you most want to do. You got to start with number 1. And I think a lot of times we make a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is more fun, and 5 is just about us. And so we start with number 5. And so number 1 gets to be number 1 over and over and over again. It never comes off the list because it's not your priority. So I think that we can teach youth to prioritize, to set, and they don't have to use the criteria I use, but they need to have a criteria. How are you going to decide what you do first? What makes sense to you? And then to actually have them play that out and understand you start with number 1, not number 7. So that's what I
Like
think
that.
about prioritizing.
Definitely use the ranking system.
Yep, for sure. For sure.
Mhm.
And I think that's
Yep.
important.
Yes. So next question is, what activities promote goal setting skills?
I think you could make a goal set out of almost anything. So um, you might want to start with team goals, right? We're working together as a team. So let's say that we're doing a relay race. There are 2 teams of us, and we're doing a relay race. And the relay race is each one of us has a bottle that's half full of water. And the idea is to race down and pour it into a much larger bucket and have the most water in the bucket by the time, the race is over. So we can strategize together as a team. Okay, we'll need to be cheering people on. We need to be sure we're not jostling and spilling the water. We need to, right? I mean, we can talk through all of those things, which are really little mini goals that we're going to set. And then we're going to do them, right? And if we win, we're going to say, how did our strategies work? What about them work? And how could we transfer those strategies to something that's not racing down to pour water in it? What's the lesson behind that? Well, being consistent, right? Having a plan. Okay, well, how can we be consistent and have a plan in other things? So I think that you can give them activities to do as a team where they can set goals, how well they're going to do, and then you talk about those and debrief it, and then you ask them to transition that to their real life. So I think that's one way. Setting individual goals can be trickier because if it's relevant to them, they really want it. If it's not relevant, they're not going to set a goal with you at any rate, right? But if it's relevant, and I really, really want this to help them understand that these are the steps, right, that you're going to have to take. And it's okay. It's okay if it takes time. It's okay if you make, inch by inch is a cinch. A mile takes a while. So let's
Mm.
move forward with all deliberate speed, but know that it's not all going to happen overnight, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Keep your eye on the prize. The prize is the
Like,
goal at the end of it. And so keep working toward it, no matter what else happens, right? And
right.
know that you'll win in the long run.
Definitely. I would add like a vision board. I know I do that
Mhm.
like each year. I learn how to do a vision board, and that's keeps me going on my goals, and it helps out a lot.
I like that idea. Where do you get your pictures?
Usually because I get I still get magazines.
Okay,
I have like a magazine subscription, so I get like I just cut them out from there, or
okay.
if I needed like printing, yeah, or I can print them as well. But mainly they come from like scraps, like from magazines that I get.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I guess you could go online, couldn't you, to look for an image?
Oh yeah, for certain. Uh-huh, for
Yeah.
certain images.
Okay. Cool.
definitely.
Because
And I
I
also do
think,
like
go.
oh sorry. Yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah, and I
you
also
go.
like, I don't, because I usually have like I have like a board, but I also have like a digital one, like one that I create like on my computer. So
Ah,
that's another way. Yeah. So I have to.
and you can update that one easier, right? The computer one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 100%.
Awesome. I think that's a
Mhm.
great idea. Thank you for sharing that. That is a good idea. Makes it
Definitely.
concrete,
Yeah.
for sure.
So
For sure.
the next question. The next question is, how can I involve families in youth goal setting efforts?
I think we've talked in the past about engaging families, right? And so let's talk about middle school, right? But it could work for any grade. So middle school is trickier because kids have started to back off from their parents, right? And we don't want that. We want them to understand that their parent isn't going to enable them, they're going to empower them, and they're going to let them try things out, right? But we need to teach parents that as well. There's a difference between skinning your knee and getting hit by a truck. So we have to be willing to let kids skin their knee, but not willing to let them get hit by a truck. And so I think we need to bring parents in to talk with them about goal setting. There's a great commercial that's local. I'm pretty sure it's local. And this young man talks about how he dropped out of high school. He said, I got in with the wrong people and they dropped out, so I dropped out. And he said, but what I knew is that I wanted to go back and get my college diploma. So he talks about how he enrolled in a GED program and how helpful there were three people that he called out as being helpful to him. One was the instructor who really took the time to get to know him, to understand what he cared about, understand what he was driving toward, all of that. Then his dad acted as support for him, encouraged him, you can do that. And then he said it was his son. And he realized that his son encouraged him because he wanted his son to see that dad can do this too. And so I think that there are things that motivate you, but that's a family. That's a family that got him through. His dad and his son are relatives, but the rest of that family was the instructor, the teacher who cared. And sometimes we can't be the aunt, the uncle, the cousin, and so forth, the brother, sister, but we can be that extra person, right? That believes in them and in the possibility of them. And I think that that's really important. And I think it's important to share with families that that's the support they need to give their kids. You are possible. You can become. I believe in the possibility of you, and then hold to that. And I think we can do workshops, we can do, goal setting events, we can do things around that. But ultimately, family matters. Whether your family was supportive and resilient and all those things or it wasn't, it's still your family. And we can't negate that. We can't poo-poo that. We have to value that family. That family gave them life and has sustained them. So they need to value that family, even though their goals aren't the same. And I think we can help kids with that.
Definitely. I was just thinking about one time in expanded learning, we had this we had this event. It had to do with like parents coming over and looking at the kid looking at nutrition and setting like good goals on like how to eat better, like doing the my plate with them. And I feel like
Mm.
that's like a way to like involve like having them involved in setting goals, not just for their kids, but for themselves as well, like eating healthy. So it's
Yep,
like it's just different activities that you can incorporate.
agree 100%. Have them make their own. Awesome.
Hmm. Our next question is, how can I use storytelling to inspire goal achievements?
There's a great story called the boy and the starfish. I don't know if you know it. If you do know it, yay. If you don't know it, I'm gonna tell it anyway. Right? Either way, it'll be good. A man is walking along the beach, and
Hmm.
down the beach, quite a ways, he sees a figure bending down, standing back up, and throwing. And he's thinking to himself, what the heck? What's what's going on down there? So he keeps walking and he gets closer. And what he realizes is that it's a young man and the starfish have all floated up onto the sand and they're going to die. Tide's not coming in for another 12 hours. And this young man is bending down, picking up a starfish and throwing it back in. And the man interprets that his goal, this young man's goal, is to throw back every single starfish. And he says to him, you're never going to throw them all back in. It's not going to work. You're not going to reach that. You can't make a difference. And the young man reaches down and he picks up a starfish and he throws it into the water and he said, but I helped that one. And I think that that's part of goal setting. We may not make it all the way to the end, but you're going to help yourself and others along the way. And I think when we do that and we tell those stories, right, it makes a difference. And then the last one, and you've probably heard this one before too, but is the boy in the woodpile, right?
Oh,
Dad and son go up to a mountain cabin and they're going to put wood in the fireplace. The boy races to the door and freezes. And the dad says to him, why aren't you getting the wood? He said, it's dark out here. And isn't that the way it is when we're trying to achieve goals? It's dark out there.
dark.
I don't know. I don't know where I'm headed. It's dark out here. What if there's something that's going to trip me up? What if there's something I'm going to stumble over? What if there's a raccoon or a monster, right? We don't know. And so the father said to the boy, how far can you see? And he said, one step. He said, then take the one step. And so he does, taking one step at a time. He makes it to the woodpile. Well, when he turns around and sees how far he's come, it's easy to go back. You've already been that way, right? And you know exactly where you're headed. And you've achieved your goal. You have the wood in your hands. So he turned around and came racing back. And know that that's true for us when we set goals. When you're working towards something that you've not had before, it's dark. It's scary. It can be fraught with circumstances that you can't imagine. But take one step and you'll be one step closer. And if you continue that, you'll make it all the way to the end of your goal. And so I think that that's part of achieving it. But I also think it's part of making progress, right? One step
Yeah,
at a time. You don't have to go 5,000 feet, one step. And I think that's helpful for people.
I like that story.
Yep. And both of them
Yeah.
work, right? Because they're both about
Yes,
that sort of reality. Yep.
I agree. Our next question is, how can I teach youth to track their progress towards goals?
So certainly we talked about that in general, right? In the story of the boy in the woodpile and the starfish store. But I think you
Mhm.
can be more concrete, right? Maybe you'll have a chart, right? With a list of things that they'll be able to have mastered. Maybe you'll have a chart that shows practice times. And you know, Malcolm Gladwell says you have to have 10,000 hours to be good at something, right? And maybe
Oh
they're
yeah.
not going to get 10,000 hours in a year, but they can do that. I think that you can help them reflect and adjust those as well. So that let's say that you can do far more than you thought you could do. Okay, then let's readjust that and stretch you further. If you realize that you really, really worked at it and you didn't get quite so far, then you can adjust the other direction. But we're constantly making goals real. They're real and we can track progress. And what we're going to try and do is just not take a step backwards. We're going to, even if we're going an inch at a time, we're moving forward. And I think that's something important for kids to learn.
Definitely. I like that. The next question is, how do I address fear of failure in goal setting? Oh, that's a good one.
Well, one of the things I think you can do is acknowledge the fact that you fail. We all do. We all fail, and it's okay. And sometimes when we fail, we go, you know what? I'm never doing that again. I'm just not going to do that. It's not that, at what cost would it be for me to learn how to do that? It's not worth it to me. And other times it's, yeah, no, it really is worth it to me. So you got to keep going. But I think that that fear of failure is is about is about something that's not achieved. Failure hasn't happened yet. Failure is complete when you quit, and you
There you
quit
go.
because you're afraid. It doesn't mean you can't quit and say, I've met this first obligation and I'm just not continuing with that. That's different than going, I quit, I'm not doing it anymore. So I think that failure, we, if a kid comes home with one F and five A's, what do we want to talk about? The one F, right?
Yeah,
We don't want to talk about the
it's
five A's. Everybody knew you should have done that, but obviously you messed up if you got an F. Well, okay, but it doesn't mean that they can't move forward. And so we've talked before about fail is first attempt in learning. It's not the last attempt, it's the first attempt. And it's okay. So all those, and I think we've shared this before, all those light bulbs you enjoy, Thomas Edison had to build over 10,000 of them before he got one that worked. And
that's
had
funny.
he quit, we would be in the dark all the time. So
That's
so
funny. That's
don't
literally
be,
what came to.
yeah,
Oh, sorry.
failure is
I was gonna say
progress.
that's so it was funny because like that's literally what I started thinking about. It was like the light bulb.
Right, right. You go, okay,
Yeah.
so if I fail 10 times, I only have to go 9,990 more times, right?
Yeah,
That we can do it, right? We don't have
definitely.
to be afraid. So I think we probably have a chance for one more. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. So
Okay,
last
so let's
question.
try the last one, whatever one that
All
is.
right. The last question is what role does resilience play in achieving goals?
So resilience is a habit of mind. And there are 16 of them. And if you ever want to find them, all you have to do is type in Google search 16 habits of mind and they'll pop right up.
Oh yeah.
But it's what they are habits of adults because adults are resilient. We all get knocked down and you dust yourself up off and you get up and you keep moving forward. And I think that that is why resilience is so important because we all will fail along the way. It's unavoidable. Things will not go the way you planned, right? But if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, which is kind of an oxymoron because your plan's probably not going to work perfectly, right? So you've planned and you'll still fail. But if you have no plan, you can't move forward. So I think it's just important for us to help young people realize that there is an end goal and it may take you longer than you thought, but it doesn't make it impossible. If it's relevant to you, if you want it, then keep at it, right? Resilience is everything. Just get up, dust yourself off, and start all over again. And eventually it will work. Or you will reach the absolute conclusion that you need to do a pivot and move over to go up, which is equally okay. But I just think that you have to be resilient. Right. Think of so many things that you've already learned in your life, Robert, and I'm twice as old as you. How many of those things did you learn the first time? Probably not many. How
Yeah.
many falls did you have to have as a child, a toddler, so that you could walk?
Oh,
A lot. And they
riding a
get
bike
up
as
and they
well.
keep trying, right? So we need to be like that toddler. Fall down, brush yourself off, get up, try again. So resilience to
Definitely.
me is incredibly important.
Definitely. And I would like to just end by saying, like like goal setting just empowers the youth with direction, like you said, resilience and then confidence. It's just preparing them to succeed either in school, in work, and even in the real world in their lives. It's just
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's time for us to say goodbye, and I'm going to let you do that, and then I'm going to wave.
definitely. So once again, if you guys have any questions, you guys can put them in the comments as well. If you guys would like to receive any like ebooks or any like activity on this topic, you guys can put your email in the comments, and CynDee Sanders will send you guys something in your email. So
Absolutely. All right.
I
Thank
like
you.
it.
All right. Yes. Yes. Likes are important. All right. Thank you so much. And we will see you at the next podcast.
Definitely.